Hey, Doug Upstone here for gamblersworld.net and part of the Winner's Circle here for videos and promos and stuff that we have here. I'm Doug Upstone, as I said, and this is Matt Fargo, and we are here to talk some more baseball. Okay. Unfortunately, Matt, you walk into a tough situation. Chip and I blew it yesterday. The site had been on, or the videos have been, I think, on a 16 and is either 16-3 or 16-4 run. Chip, we added 2 losses yesterday, so you and I have to bounce back today. Okay, with some free.
Let's see what we can do. Hey, it happens. We can't win every day. We never claim we do.
No question about it. But yeah, we weren't very good yesterday. So, but well, hey, you know what? But we've been on a nice run overall here at the Winner's Circle. We'll see if we can improve upon that today. One thing you should know, it continues today. Baseball promo, $99 through the All-Star break. Okay, on that one. So it's a great deal, and it is particularly a good deal. Now I'm doing well. Okay, 24-9 of late, but Matt Fargo, he is killing it. Okay, so that alone, right now, if you're looking to buy a rest of the week selections, jump on Matt's picks right now. He is just absolutely on fire across the board. So make sure that you do that. We'll get to a little bit more on that in just a second here. One thing you should also do is subscribe to this channel. Gets outstanding free picks, which I just mentioned. Hey, like we just said, Matt just said, nobody wins every day. And so we didn't yesterday. We're going to bounce back today, though. So while you're subscribing, go into your settings and hit that alert bell, and you'll be notified every single time there is a video done here on this channel, which is Monday through Friday. Hit the like button if you like what you hear, and leave your comments. I asked for some more comments yesterday. Come on, give me some more comments. You got something to say here. Good or bad, okay? Give it to me. Matt doesn't need all that nonsense. I'll take it, okay? Filling in for today.
I'll take it too. Give it up.
Sean's in Vegas. I think him and Chip are going to hook up, as a matter of fact, next couple of days, awesome. Whatever it happens to be. So anyway, yeah, make sure to do that along with, like I said, checking out that $99 baseball package. Now, I was talking about Matt. Currently, the last 30 days, he is number 2 on the Gamblers World site on a 21-10 run. But the bigger news is Mr. Fargo. And when you become number 1 at this site, we go to Mr. Okay, we don't call it people by their first name. So Mr. Fargo is number 1 in baseball at this site. He has been just killing it all year. And in particular, well, first of all, congratulations, Matt, on that one. And I know yesterday you went 2-0 with a couple of underdogs. I remember seeing the Angels as one of them. I forget what the other one was. But you know what? So people, one thing you should consider, besides the $99 thing, with Matt, sign up for a month. Okay, that's all I'm asking. Sign up for a month or even the rest of the season. He's been that good all season. We had talked about Chip Chirumbis during the NBA season. You should sign up for him. He had a great year, and the same thing's going to happen here for Matt. So make sure that you get signed up either for a month or for the rest of the season. Now, Matt, we just talked about underdogs briefly. If you have a tip or two that you could share with the audience about how you evolved to getting to underdogs, along with what things you kind of look for that make you want to choose those as well.
Sure. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Everybody calls me Fargo, so the Mister I'm not used to, no matter how good or bad. Yeah, with the underdogs, you look at baseball. Obviously, it's a long season. 162 games. Even the below average teams that are typically underdogs are going to win between 65 and 75 games, right? So, you're not going to bet them every game. You have to pick their spots. And, I look at starting pitching, is number 1. That's how the lines are pretty much based. I like to look at home road splits, and I look at obviously the bullpens play a big part in it as well. So, that being said, like I mentioned, even the bad teams win, and even the great teams lose. So, you just have to pick those spots. In the long term, you could play favorites and hit 57% across the season, which sounds good percentage-wise. But you're probably not going to make any money doing that if you're playing favorites of -150 and above. And a lot of people, like to do that because they like to play the high-profile teams. I'm the opposite in that regard. I'm contrarian in almost every sport. When it comes to football and basketball, I look at the underdogs there as well, not in the money line per se, but with the spread, because the public loves favorites. They love the high-profile teams. And I always think there's value going the other way. And in baseball especially, like last night, one of my wins was on the Angels going against Jacob deGrom, who is having a great year, right? But he's overpriced when he hits the road. And that was the case last night. The Angels got to him a little bit, and they won it late. So games like that where you see some of the high-profile starting pitchers, typically when they go on the road, they seem to be overpriced. And those are the good spots that I like to go against teams like that, particularly.
Excellent. That's great to hear. So everybody, please pay attention and maybe even save this video to mark it to consider what Matt just said. And looking at underdogs, you have an opportunity to win, some extra money on every single bet that you place with underdogs. If you're interested in winning percentage, well, that's not how you do it. Okay, Matt's style it has worked for him for a long time. And this year in particular, it is winning outstandingly. So make sure that you jump on board with that. Now, Matt, what do you got today going on tab?
Yeah, like you mentioned, coming off a 2-0 night last night, I have 3 more plays tonight in baseball, all in one package, triple play. And yes, they're all underdogs. So head on over to gamblersworld.net and pick that up for tonight.
Excellent. Okay. Now myself, I so far I just have one play. I'm looking at one other game that look to add. I will add it probably right after the show. But I got my best bet of the day. Okay, ready to go. I mentioned 24-9, so look to continue on the winning path there. And again, so that $99 special. Okay, like I said, Matt is just on fire. I'm having a nice run across the board. So make sure that you hop on board, and get this. Now, Matt and I are going to give you 2 free plays, and then we're going to talk a little bit, too, about the AL East because we just have 2 games. Thought we'll just talk a little more baseball and as to what's going on because it's really setting up to be a very interesting division, maybe the most interesting division in baseball going forward. So we'll talk about that. So let's get things started. Speaking of the AL East, we got the New York Yankees hosting the Seattle Mariners tonight. The Yankees are a shorter favorite by their normal standards on that one. And I think that, the total is gone from 8.5 to 9. So the total has been bumped up on this one. Matt, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I think there's actually value in New York in this game. Typically I don't play favorites, but when you catch the Yankees at -30 or below at home, I think they're worth a look. And I think one reason they are so low tonight is because of the pitching matchup. Will Warren, actually, I played against Will Warren, I believe it was last Wednesday on the show as a free play. I took Toronto in that game. And he got roughed up. He allowed 8 runs overall, 7 in the first inning. So, and that's been his issue all year, is his road numbers. He has a 6.75 ERA on the road in 10 starts, but at Yankee Stadium, that drops all the way down to 3.35 in 8 games. So he's much more comfortable at home. And he's facing, a Seattle team that's coming off 3 shutout wins over Pittsburgh over the weekend at home. And they send Logan Gilbert to the hill, who, he went through, I believe it was almost 2 months off for an injury. And, it's taken him a little bit to come back. He had 2 good starts, one against Boston, one against Kansas City. Both those were at home, but he struggled in his 2 road starts at Chicago against the Cubs and at Texas, allowing 4 runs in both of those. Now he goes to Yankee Stadium, and that's always obviously a tough place, and especially New York coming off a 1-6 road trip. Like they salvaged the last game against the Mets, and there's a pissed off team right now. They were in first place all year long. Toronto took them, to the woodshed 4 games, and now they're 3.5 games back. So this is a big week for them. The week heading into the All-Star break, and they want to get off on the right foot. So I like New York in this spot. Kind of a short number for them, and if I had to play it, I would play the Yankees.
That it's an interesting point you brought up, and this is from trying to look at it from odds makers' perspective. I mean, if you look at the Yankees, you would think that if the number is that short, that Seattle might get a call, on that one, just because you think the Yankees would typically. I mean, I would say on an average Yankee line, I would say would be 140 at home. Obviously, the pitcher will help determine that. But last night was something that fell into another category that was interesting. And actually, I was on the game. is Colorado, or I should say Boston was a 200 minus 200 plus favorite in that game. And they were starting Fitz. Okay. And Fitz, in his last 10 starts, Boston had not won one of those games. So even on the run line. So what I had read, it was the first time in the last 30 years that a pitcher had pitched for a team that had lost 10 straight games when he started, but yet was a favorite of better than 2-1. And so the question is, okay, what do you do? I mean, Colorado stinks. A pitcher that stinks. Well, I took Boston on the run line, and it was good. So it's just about. So you just have to be, and this kind of what goes along with what Matt said about looking at underdogs. You have to be able to look at the situation and make your best decision based on the available facts you have in front of you. Boston was playing well. It seemed to make sense to me, and it worked out. Okay. And Colorado, we know how horrible they are, but it's an interesting aspect there. Now, for me, Matt, this game's a tough call. Okay. Seattle's not scoring runs unless Cal Raleigh's hitting home runs, it seems. Okay. Right now. So that's tough. Yankees pitching staff collectively, they needed a day off yesterday. They were the entire pitching staff was horrible last week. So you got, Logan Gilbert. Okay. He's still striking out guys, but not much else right now. He's giving up a lot of hits and stuff. And actually I before the show, I went to look for him for either strikeouts and or over under on innings. Strikeouts is available, but that has been jacked up quite a bit. So that wasn't a possibility because he could still go over the numbers. I saw both a 6.5 and a 7.5 on that one. But nobody had anything for innings. I thought that was fascinating because I was looking for 15.5, thinking that to go under on that. As you mentioned, Will Warren pitching better at home. He's definitely more trustworthy. But you know what? I look at the total, like I said, went from 8.5 to 9. And in Gilbert's most recent starts, in which he gave up one or less earned runs in his last outing, if he's on the road, he's 21-5. Warren, since last year, in the second half of the season, 7-0 over. So myself, I'm going to go 7-0. I'm going to go with the over 9 for the Yankees in Seattle. But officially, Matt Fargo says to take the New York Yankees on the money line tonight over Seattle. All right, let's move ahead to another game. This is going to be a West Coast game, Philadelphia and San Francisco. Philadelphia lost last night. And to be honest with you, I thought it was kind of surprising that they did with Christopher Sanchez, who, I don't know what more he could have done last night. 1 run allowed over 7 innings, but they lost the game 3-1. Philadelphia had trouble with Roop last night, and I don't think it's going to get any easier tonight with Robbie Ray, on the mound. Robbie Ray has a 2.68 ERA. He had a quality start. Some people like that number, some people don't. I'm not a big fan of it, but there's hard to argue. 12 of his 18 starts have been quality starts. Ray in his younger days was known as full count because every batter, it seemed, was a full count when he was pitching, and he would often throw 5 innings and throw 110 pitches. Not anymore. He's got a whip of 109. He's facing a Philadelphia team that is 11-15 against left-handed starters. And if you've seen Bryce Harper bat at all in the last 4 days, pretty much every swing he's knotted up in a pretzel, and he's striking out a ton. So Taijuan Walker is going to start for Philadelphia. He has June with very mixed results. He has a 5.76 ERA against San Francisco on the road, where his team has lost 5 of his last 6 starts. The Giants are 6-1 most recently against Philly at home. Walker and his teammates, when he has pitched on the road against a winning team, 0-7. Give me the Giants on the money line, to take out Philadelphia yet again tonight. Matt, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, it's an interesting pitching matchup. I haven't read much into it. I kind of stayed away from this game from a premium perspective, so I didn't look much into it. This is Walker's first start since May 30th. He's been in the bullpen for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games.
Yep.
And he's pitched pretty well, with a couple exceptions, but I just don't know how far he's going to go, how much they're going to stretch him out. That's one hesitant that I would have with Philly in this game. I think it's a good bounce back spot for them, just from coming off a loss perspective, right? But you mentioned Robbie Ray. His numbers on the road and at home, they're pretty much identical. But the one thing that does stick out is the Giants are 7-2 and his 9 home starts on the year. And he has, let me look at it real quick here. Yeah, I mean, his strikeouts are up. His one issue is giving up the home run. He's given up 6 over his last 4 starts. That could be an issue, but he's coming off a complete game. And the first thing you brought up was quality starts. I don't really care about it, but it's interesting where you have a pitcher who has a lot of them because managers don't keep these starters in very long anymore.
Right.
5 innings is kind of the max for a lot of these guys now. So if you have a pitcher like Robbie Ray, who's, what do you say, was 12 complete games and 18 starts?
12 quality starts, yeah. 12 quality starts.
Yeah, 12 quality starts. That's pretty impressive, I think. So, if they can get, 6 innings out of him, 7, they'll be just fine. The one thing that, it's another favorite, which I don't really love to do, but the Phillies are only 1 game over 500 on the road, and the Giants are 9 games over 500 at home. I think it's a short enough price to where there's value with the Giants and Robbie Ray. So I do agree with you on that.
All right, there you have it. So free plays. Matt Fargo likes the Yankees on the money line, and I'm sticking with San Francisco at home on the money line for free play winners. Now, again, make sure that you take advantage of the $99 special that is available for you right now. Like I said, Matt Fargo is just smoking hot with his picks, and so make sure you can sign up for that at $99 now through to the All-Star break. And then also yours truly is on a 24-9 run, so $99. You can do the math divided by 6. I don't know if you're going to have a All-Star game pick, Matt, but I know I won't. But
I never do. No.
Yeah,
nope.
Same thing. I have literally never had one. Okay, and I'm not starting Tuesday, a week from today. So for that. So, but anyway, so still a great opportunity for you to pick up some winners from a couple of handicappers that just are doing well. All right. Last thing we're going to talk about is the AL East and kind of where things are and maybe where things are going. Let's see here, Matt. The Toronto Blue Jays, I believe you have an affinity towards the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit. And right now you look like a genius as being a fan. Okay. I mean, they are killing it right now.
I am a fanboy right now. I watched every game last week. It was awesome. It was. They're looking great right now. The one issue that has been brought up has been run differential, which I don't want to say they're playing small ball per se, but you look at the Yankees. So I think going into that series like plus 100 run differential. So they're kind of playing a different ball game than Toronto is right now. Toronto's getting the clutch hits. They're getting decent pitching along the way. I don't know if I trust them with this team right now. I think the Yankees obviously still the better team. It's going to come down to what these teams do at the trade deadline. Right now, what I've been reading is Toronto's going to go after pitching. They're looking at Alcantara from Florida, Lugo from KC, Kelly and Merrill from Arizona, and one other name I forget. So they're going to be going after pitching at the deadline, which they definitely could use. So that will definitely help them. And the Yankees are in the same boat where their pitching is, as you mentioned, going into tonight's game, it's just been horrible. And I'm not sure if they're going to be really going after that. I think they should, but I think they're going to go the route of just trying to outscore everyone. What I've read about them is they're looking at Ryan McMahon from Colorado, Arenado from the Cardinals, and a couple of their bats to make their lineup even that much more potent. So it'll be interesting to see what those two teams do at the trade deadline. And you can't count Tampa out. They've been playing really well. They'll get some pitchers back from injury, so we can't count them out. Boston, I don't know what to make of. I can't figure that team out. After that Devers trade, they got hardly anything back, and I understand he was a liability in the locker room. I get that, but I don't know what their plan is going forward. I really don't. And Baltimore's cooked, obviously, but.
Yeah, I agree with the run differential. I mean, it seems to be a concern. And Chip and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. The thing that I've liked, and I listened to Dan Schulman, everybody probably familiar with that name from ESPN, but he's also the TV announcer for the Toronto Blue Jays. Great announcer, by the way, and skilled in literally everything he's ever done that I've ever heard. But, they were, talking about all the contributions of rookie players, okay, that they brought up that has really helped change what this team is. And so, I mean, does that continue? Well, we'll find out. But, I mean, it's been a big deal, and it's really turned things around. And, it's not a team full of boppers, so, I mean, so you keep trying to score runs, get guys on base. And, and I think for the most part, there's some guys that are, let's say, a little bit slower, but there's more speed on Toronto, and I think a little better defense this year than in the past couple of years. Now, you know that better than I, but that's just my observation of watching them too and seeing what they're bringing to the table. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I do agree with that. Yeah, their defense, their outfield has been great this year. Very athletic. They're fast. And I'll just quickly look it up, run differential. They're only plus 16. They're 14 games over 500, 15 games over 500. They're only plus 16 in run differential, which is unheard of. If you look at, like, Seattle is, I'm trying to think of somebody comparable here. Texas is plus 24 in run differential, and they're 3 games under 500. So baseball is just a crazy game where, it comes down to, it just comes down to situational play a lot of times, and.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense for that to be the case. But, one thing that, though, if you follow it like Matt and I do, is that almost every year there's one team that is basically barely over, plus minus, and yet they end up winning 87 games. Okay. Right. And so, I mean, it's hard to say if that's Toronto this year, but it could be. So I mean, they're nicely positioned, and I don't know. I have not looked to see what their schedule lines up with, but if they get some of the easier teams, going forward, maybe they can do some damage. Yankees, to me, the one thing that's so different about the Yankees compared to the past is they're not willing to go out and spend the big money. I mean, the George Steinbrenner days, if they wanted to start, they just went out and got it. Now they negotiate to try and get one. And so I'm hearing Jeff Keller is one of the pitchers that they're looking at. Keller's very effective. He's on a bad team. Makes sense, but seems like the Yankees don't want to go down into their top prospects anymore. That seems to be a pattern, just with the ownership it is today. So I would, to me, if you're going to make a trade, if you want to get back to the World Series, you go out and get Skeens. Okay. I mean, and maybe a secondary pitcher. But you're going to have to give up an awful lot to do that, and I'm not saying they're wrong not to do it. That seems to me how if you want to go about it, that's what you should do. But I still like Toronto. Before we're talking about speed, Tampa Bay. Okay, Tampa Bay, solid starters, solid relievers and pitching, great speed on offense and defense. They apply a lot of pressure to teams. The thing is, though, you look at them. There's no stars on that team. There's several good players, but there's no stars. And I just don't know if that can hold up. Now, they got to a World Series during COVID, okay, but that was more limited in the number of games. And honestly, they could have won the World Series, but they didn't. And there's a lot of similarities to the team. I just don't know if there's enough star players. I was on the Boston bandwagon, Matt, early to start. They haven't fulfilled anything close to what expectations were, but they're starting to win a little bit now. And the starting pitching is getting a little bit healthier, and the bullpen has really come around. So I don't know. This is a team that, if they get into the wild card, I think they're an interesting team going forward if they continue to play well. And the one thing, Baltimore stinks. They're done. They're not going anywhere. But the one thing where Baltimore can raise havoc in this division, Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish are both coming back, as I understand, sometime relatively soon after the All-Star break. They add those two guys, and because those are their 1 and 2 starters. Okay, I'm not saying they're going to be ready to go, but they're going to, they can certainly create some problems and make life miserable in that division with their talent.
Right. I do agree with that. And like they're not. They have the roster. They're not going to sell. They're having a rough season. They're just going to be like, okay, we're on to next year. They have so much young talent in that lineup that, yeah, the offense can cause problems for a lot of teams. They're not going to get rid of any of these guys. And yeah, they'll get some of these pitchers back from injury, and they could be, just one of those spoiler teams going forward towards the end of the season. I absolutely do agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with I think what are they like 8 games below 500 or something like that right now?
Nine, yeah.
9. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they won 80 games. To tell you the truth, I mean, that would not surprise me. That might qualify them for last in that division, but I mean, if they win 80 games, they're gonna hurt some teams in the second half of the season. So they're just kind of fascinating, and I think that's the right way to go about it for them because the talent is still there. It just seems whether it's the coaches, the manager. I mean, the ownership's not good. Okay, that's a given, but it does. They're not getting the best out of these guys. And I think they deserve like one more year. And if it doesn't, if they don't make an improvement, if they're not competing for the division next year, then you kind of do what, like many teams, I can think of an Arizona team, several years ago that, had a bunch of young guys. They got up to a certain level and that was it. They didn't go any further. They broke the team up. And it seems like Baltimore's kind of at that realm. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Now. I mean, with Baltimore, they fired, what's his name? Hyde. Like 27 games into the season, relatively quick into the season. And it really hasn't helped much. So, yeah, I think this is just a lost season for them. It happens to every team every once in a while. So, the talent, like I mentioned, the talent in this offense is, if they keep that core, they're going to be really, really good for years to come. So, it just comes down to pitching for them. When they got rid of Corbin Burns in the offseason, that was a big hit. If he was on this team, I don't know if it would make a difference right now, but it just seems like they didn't have normally need at least 2 top guys. You typically want 3. Baltimore really, who's their ace?
Yeah, well, they didn't have one going into the year.
Exactly.
And I think rightly or wrongly, I mean, everybody knows, if the ownership isn't interested in winning. The players know what their job is to do, but you can't tell me that human nature isn't part of the process here, okay, or part of the thinking rather. And so you wonder. Now, to me, that also maybe a little bit lack of immaturity, okay, on the team. If they're affected by that on a day-to-day basis, it's not like it's football where you're playing 17 times. This is 162 times you're playing. So if you don't get over it, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, all right. So that's what Matt and I have for today. So again, wrap up the free plays. Matt has the New York Yankees on the money line, and I have the San Francisco Giants on the money line for today's free plays. And we look to go 2-0. And Matt and I will be accountable because we'll both be back here tomorrow, okay, to face the music one way or the other. So again, sign up for that $99 promotion, okay, for baseball. Get yourself some winners from us or any of the other, I believe it's 13 guys at Gamblers World. And let's have a fantastic day. Matt, thanks for stopping by today. We will see you tomorrow along with Kevin Thomas and do this all over again. And hopefully we got some winners for the people that are watching the video. Thanks much, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Thanks, Dougie. Good luck, everyone.